What's up, guys? It's your boy Chris C. Pups Rot bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge show. On today's show, since it's Sunday, what we're going to do is just a end of the week current event show. Glasses fogged up. As you know, I live in California, so it's really hot here, standardly. Specifically right now for some odd reason. I don't know. So, once again, this is your boy Chris C. Pups Rot bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge show. On today's show, we're going to do like a end of the week current events type of thing where we throw in a little bit of car knowledge, but we talk about what's happened over the past week. So, a lot of exciting week, so that's pretty much why we're doing this. Early in the week, we did get into a situation where we our friend O.J. Simpson passed away. Our friend O.J. Simpson, which not many people gonna say it like that, but yeah, O.J. Simpson passed away this past week. And I want to touch on that subject a little bit. You know, of course, I was in college when the whole case went on with him being accused of and acquitted of the killings of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. It was a really interesting time in my life, as I probably think it was a really interesting time in most people's lives at that time. And of course, it was a crazy time. It was the really intriguing thing that I want to touch on about the O.J. Simpson trial and the whole everything that was happening at that time is that when that was going on, and this is just my personal thought on the whole situation, but we were living in a world where black people still did not see them at equal with white people. Let's say that. So much so that we knew that we lived in a world where people who had a lot of money, specifically white people, who had a lot of money could commit crimes and get away with crimes. You know, we know that to be true because, you know, there's the situations where, you know, expensive lawyers and all of these things. If laws were more concrete and it wasn't this innate ability to spend money to get acquitted of crimes that most people think that you committed, it was a thing that happened back then, and we all knew it was a thing that happened back then. You know, we accepted it to whatever degree, but we didn't like it. Let's face it, we didn't like it. And the O.J. Simpson trial, it was a cataclysm of the idea that black people wanted to believe that they were equal to white people in some arena. And the arena that we were talking about at this point is that if you had money, then you should be able to buy yourself out of jail or prison time. And the whole idea was that, or to me, the whole idea was that we as black people wanted to believe he was innocent. There's no doubt. Because he was black, and we didn't want to think that one of our great figures in history had committed this heinous crime. So we didn't want to believe he did it. So that's, if you don't want to believe he did it, you try not to believe that. And on top of that, we also wanted to believe that we had gotten to the point of equality with white people that, if one of our black people had money, they could buy themselves out of jail time and being being found guilty of a charge, just like we've seen white people do. There's no doubt that we have not seen cases where people we know damn well was guilty and they were not found guilty. Great lawyers, changing the subject matter, just the magic tricks of law that allow people to get found not guilty of stuff that people know that they're guilty of. And we as black people wanted to believe that we had got to a place of equality with white people, that this rich black star, that even if he was not guilty, his status and his financial ability should allow him to be exonerated of this case, and which is what happened as far as we understand, because most people still think he was guilty. Do I think he was guilty? I don't. I can't say. There's not enough proof. There was too much evidence. There's too much after the fact evidence that wasn't brought up in the case. There was too many other people who could have done it and that weren't brought to justice. So I don't, as much as the civil case said that he did it and the world says that he did it, there's, as the world proves, we couldn't prove it. And that's where that's where we sit with the whole situation. I think that karma, and the only reason I would say that in my mind he most likely did it, because eventually I'm a real big believer in karma, and I think karma caught up to him eventually and sent him to prison for some dumbass memorabilia shit, and that was just the dumbest thing that I've ever seen somebody go to jail for, just harassing some fools over some stuff that was yours that they were selling. That's crazy to me. But for me, that felt like it was maybe karmatic that he went to jail on that stuff, and that I don't want to say that it proves he did it, but it proves that he was. It proves that the world had to prove something to us or to the world that, if he did it, then he didn't walk away scot-free. It's kind of how I believe in karma. It's just weird that way. I'm gonna read this new NBC News article real quick. I'm gonna check that out, and I want to tell a quick story. We're gonna move on to another subject. But NBC News wrote an article. Too many Black Americans. The O.J. Simpson verdict was bigger than O.J. Simpson. All right. On October 3rd, 1995, Black residents in parts of Los Angeles spilled out onto the street, cheering and passing celebratory drinks. The world had just learned that O.J. Simpson had been acquitted of double murder. Everybody was running out of their house screaming and happy, recalled journalist and culture critic Jasmine Canick, who was a teenager living near Compton when the verdict came down. I remember that people had been glued to their television sets for months on end, wondering where the jury would land. The celebratory scene in Canick's neighborhood that day was duplicated in Black communities across the country as the nearly year-long so-called trial of the century came to an end. Simpson, then a movie star and a beloved former football player, was acquitted of murder charges in the death of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. The reaction to the verdict was far different among white Americans, revealing trench-like racial divisions that were rolling roiling the nation at the time. In 1994, 22% of black respondents to a Washington Post ABC News poll said they thought Simpson was guilty of the charges versus 63% of white people. As time went on, particularly after Simpson was found liable in 1997 in a civil case brought by the Brown and Goldman families, 57% of black people in 2015 said they thought he was guilty. 83% of white people agreed. White people were like, guilty, guilty, guilty. There were families that broke up, families who would not speak to each other over the O.J. Simpson case. County said it was as vicious as the Trump situation. People just felt strongly one way or the other. And then there's this picture. And I want y'all to look at this picture. And that's where I'm going to stop at the reading the article. But I'm glad she said the last piece because, you know, it divided a lot of people, specifically around the world, you know, people that work together, people that are in school together, everything. I want to tell this quick story. I try to get my friends to remember this, but when O.J. Simpson verdict came down, I was a student at Indiana University. We were at this place called the Union, this place where, you know, all students go to sit, have meetings, get together, study, whatnot. It had a bowling rink in it. It was an awesome place. Great school. And the day the verdict came down, there were, I'm going to say, it was like eight or 10 black students sit in a little cubicle against the wall in this one part of the Union where there's a TV in the front, and then there's a whole big section where there's a whole bunch of tables because it's right where the Pizza Hut is. So that's where people would sit to eat and study. And it's a big area. It's a big long area. But at the front of the area is a semicircular sitting area where all these black people are sitting. So it's at the top of this sitting area, okay? And then just on this day, the verdict was supposed to have been coming down for days. So nobody really knew when it was coming down, okay? And of course there's all us 8 to 10 black people sitting in this little circular thing, and then there's all, you know, multicolored people just all in the other area sitting in all chairs. The place was packed. It was no chair, no sitting available that I could remember. You know, verdict was on TV. Everybody was watching it. We was kind of studying, kind of watching it. And what I remember, is that when the verdict came down, I just remembered that us 8 to 10 people, 8 to 10 black students jumped up and started hollering, just like this picture on the screen right now. Just like this picture on the screen right now, okay? Change this out. But yeah, jumping up and screaming, happy as a mug, hugging, high-fiving, ultimate happiness, ultimate beauty. Everybody was in ultimate enjoyment. And then I remembered, and then I thought, or not thought, all of a sudden, we all of us realized that none of the other people in the Union area that we were celebrating. None of them jumped up and was hugging. Everybody was still sitting in their seats. As a matter of fact, they were all looking at us. They were all staring at us celebrating that this man had got found, acquitted of killing these two people. And I kind of remember everybody just sitting down for a second and feeling, kind of uncomfortable or whatever, but still smiling and happy. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, it was time to go to class or to do whatever we had to do, so we all left. But it was a percentage game for me. My thought was it was a percentage game to me. We are us 8 to 10 black students sitting in this corner area was the percentage of people in the world at that time that thought this man was not guilty. And everybody else was the other percent at that time. It's what I thought, but the truth was that the majority of black people were just like that picture, just like us, just like most black people around the world. And it wasn't, for me, it wasn't so much about O.J. Simpson as it was about the feeling that black people got thinking that they had won, or they had come to the conclusion that black people have gotten to the point where they have the ability to win cases that in most cases they would lose because of the color of their skin. And the idea that as a black person with status and power, like a white person, period, or a white person with status or power, has the ability to maneuver the justice system in your favor. Because in most cases, the justice system has never or hasn't been in black people's favor, and this was in our view, a situation where it was in our favor. And we ran with it. We ran with the happiness. We ran with the idea that, hey, O.J. Simpson got acquitted. He's a black man. A black man can fight extreme charges and win in this world. Now, when that nigga was talking about he wasn't black, fucked it all up for us. But, we had to look at it as more than O.J. Simpson. And we have to look at it now as more than O.J. Simpson. We have to look at it as black people continue to strive for equality that they didn't think they had. We still don't think we have that equality at this point right now. Is that true or not? It depends on who you ask. But anyway, rest in peace to the Juice. Orenthal James Simpson, one of the greatest running backs, greatest actors that the world may have seen. If he was a bad guy that committed murder, I apologize to the Brown and Goldman family. I don't know if he committed it or not, but I feel sorry that anybody had to die anyway, regardless of who did it. But RIP to the Juice. Alright, so second thing on the agenda. If you guys did not get to watch that fantastic UFC 300 last night, oh my goodness gracious. UFC 300 was probably one of the best UFC fight cards that I've ever seen in a long time. All the fights lived up to it. It was such a great top-notch card that they had Aljamain Sterling in the prelim matches. It was such a great card. We said we wouldn't do any more UFC fight reviews, but I have to touch on this. It was just one of the best. I mean, it was a great fight by Holly Holmes. Aljamain Sterling had a great fight in the beginning fights. Oh man, the Gagey Holloway fight was probably one of the best fights I've ever seen. Or not ever. Well, it was one of the best fights I've seen in a long time. Honestly thought that they probably should have stopped the fight in in the first round because he broke that fool nose. Broke that fool nose in the first round. Holloway hit him with a flying kick that was supposed to be going for the gut, but Gaethje was bending over, got him in the nose and the gut, broke his nose. His nose was leaking the whole fight. But that just proves how fantastic a fighter Gaethje was. He continued to fight, and he had good moments in the fight. He had Holloway hurt a couple times in that fight. But at the end, in the end, I mean, because the fight was great. It was back and forth. Holloway was getting the best of him. Holloway knocked him down a couple times. But in the end, what happened was that Holloway just like, no, jack this. Last couple seconds of the fight, jack this. Come on, me and you, sit in the ring. They both sit in the ring, just throwing. And Holloway caught him with a decent right. Just sent that fool to the ground so hard. He was laying on, and I was, kind of worried because dude already had the nose jacked up, so his breathing had to be jacked up. It was bleeding profusely, and when he hit him, that dude laid on his face for a minute. He laid on his face for a minute. He was Gaethje. Oh man, it's a long time since I seen Gaethje in a situation like that, and he was hurt. Man, Holloway took him out, and it was just we'll probably have some steel shots up here once we finish, but it was just fantastic. Just that one. What else? The Miller fight was fantastic. They had the women's bantamweight with Chow. Couldn't tell which one was which, but it was a great fight. There was back and forth. Every fight pretty much was an awesome fight. Leading up to Pereira and Hill. Not a big Alex Pereira fan, so I was really hoping that Hill would have got him. But once again, that was a great fight. And round one, Hill hit Pereira with a bad knee, and was it Herb Dean? Herb Dean was about to come in and stop it for a second. And this fool, Pereira's like, nah, I'm cool. Don't stop it. Just walked up to this dude and hit him with a Haryuken, bro. If you go back and see it, he hit him with a Haryuken. And the dude, eyes glazed over. I mean, it was... I really had hope that Hill could pull this out, but Pereira hit him with that Haryuken. Oh man, had him knocked. He had him knocked. Did this little funny maneuver at the end. Man, I would have been shitty. But Pereira's still the champion. Holloway back in that thing. It was a fantastic UFC 300. We won't do a whole review, but awesome fights that night. Just great stuff going on all over the place. What else we want to talk about? Alright, we got Orenthal, we got UFC 300. I wanted to talk real quick. Last thing we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about a little car stuff. So, we've been beating up on Fisker for quite some time. Everybody's talking about the bankruptcies, they lowered the amount of total sales that they expect for the year. But they have some other things going. They have some good things going on. They just opened up Fisker in Indianapolis. They just opened up a Fisker in Colorado. And I guess they hope that stupid Midwesterners is going to buy Fiskers and keep it moving. I don't think we talked about how were trying to get other manufacturers involved in taking over and taking some of the weight that they're bearing, but they could not. So Henry Fisker still moving forward, and And I read an article not that long ago that said that, people were upbeat about, what's going on with Fisker and how it's going. And, I'm a positive guy, and I want great things for everybody. I'm not going to sit here and hope the worst on them. I hope these things happen. They going to open up one in Indianapolis. I'm big on Indiana, so, I hope that don't fail. So we're going to try to stop putting out negative stuff about Fisker. You know, we don't want to destroy anybody. We want to give our review. We want to give our ideas. We want to give our thoughts. If our thoughts are negative, that's just the way it is. But we will not, we don't wish ill will on anyone. So that's just it. Quick Sunday show, my friends. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe. I will be back with another show on Wednesday. Then that's where I think we're gonna set the schedule for that. We're gonna do the Wednesday show where we deep dive into the automotive stuff. Oh, one more thing. We Concierge Automotive is Concierge Automotive. That is going to be the name of our online car dealership. Concierge Automotive. Everything is already put in place. The website is coming soon. We're probably looking to open up a brick and mortar soon. Not super soon, but soon enough. But Concierge Automotive is coming soon. So we'll be able to help you buy your cars. We're going to help you sell your cars. We're going to help you maintain your cars, find the best places to get them repaired, best collision centers, so that nobody dicks you around and you don't pay money that you're not supposed to. All right, I think that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Questions, concerns, DM me, hit me on my line. You can always send questions to twistedpup01@gmail.com or any of my social medias. DM me and I'll get back to you. This is your boy Chris C. Pups Right. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll check you out later. Peace.